Hey guys, welcome back to Home Built, and as the Alfa is getting near the end, I thought it was time to introduce you to my next project. Alright guys, I wanted to take a quick second out to thank this week's video sponsor, Gentle Bands. Now, Gentle Bands have reimagined the way of making rings. And as you know, I really like great craftsmanship, and these rings really hit the spot. The ring I chose, which I think looks amazing, is called the Starboy, and it uses tungsten dinosaur bone, actual meteorite parts, and with a backing of opal, and it looks fantastic. It really comes to life in the light. I am a big fan of the thought and design that goes into these things. They have materials like whiskey barrel and guitar string and all types of different materials that they've combined into make some really special rings. And what I've actually combined them with this time is the tungsten wheat chain in 4mm. And one of the great ideas of this is, particularly people who are working with their hands all the time, you're working with machinery, you're doing fabrication stuff, you shouldn't be wearing rings on your hand because they can get caught and do damage. And this is a way that you can still be wearing your ring, you can tuck it away, and you've got it with you, you're not going to lose it, and yeah, you still have your hands free to work on whatever you're working on. The rings come in this fantastic packaging, which has a certificate of craftsmanship inside with the date and the craftsman who actually built it on there. Gentle Bands also has free engraving available at the moment. And if you use the link in the description and the discount code Jeff25, you can get 25% off at the moment with Gentle Bands. Great idea to recommend to family or friends, particularly if you're looking for wedding rings or just dress rings or whatever. They're fantastic looking rings, and there are hundreds of styles. You can get lost on their website, really going down the rabbit hole, finding all sorts of really cool different materials that really suits your style and says a little bit about you. So make sure you check them out. As I said, link in the description, 25% off with Jeff25, and support the companies that support the channel and support these builds. All right, guys, let's get into it. All right, guys, welcome back. And I know there have been lots of comments asking about what I'm going to do next. As you've seen, I did Harry, I built the Datsun 240Z, I built the Alfa. I haven't forgot the Rockster, which is over in the back there. There are a bunch of projects there, and if you've missed them, there's links to the compilation builds of these videos up above. Go and check them out. The Alfa is not done. There is still bits and pieces in the interior to do. There's still drive videos to do. There's still a bit to go. But I've had the new project in the background for quite some time now and had to be careful to make sure I didn't catch it in shot. So I thought I would introduce you guys to that today. All right, so after 4 years on building the Alfa, I'm not quite ready yet to jump headlong into another build of quite this magnitude. If you've watched the build of this, or even the recent compilation video of this entire build, you will have seen how bad this was to start with and how far I had to go just to restore it before I even started doing the engine conversion and all the engineering and all of the bits and pieces, the aircon, the electric windows, all of the bits made this a very big project. I'm looking for something to be a little bit quicker. What is it? You know, now I have a bunch of projects. I've done German, I've done Japanese with the Datsun 240Z, I've done Italian with the Alfa, and I am a car agnostic. So I do love my Porsches, but yeah, I like a bit of everything. I love cars, I love all sorts of cars. And with that, I thought it was time to venture somewhere else, and this next project has a bit more of an American flavour. Well, it's a little bit of a combination, but we'll cover that when we get there. With all these cars now, one of the things I've noticed that I had is that I have to cart them around everywhere. take him to the dyno if they break somewhere. Even when I took Harry to Adelaide for the Classic Rally a year ago, if something breaks, then I've got a long way to come home. It makes sense if I'm going to do an event like that, that I transport it there and back. And I do have a car trailer, not a very good car trailer, but it is a car trailer. So I thought it's time to rectify that, and I need something to haul them around in. So hopefully I won't lose too many of you guys, but this is what I have for my next project. It is a 1954 Ford F600 truck. So the F100 is the one that most people are familiar with, and it's the exact same cab. Everything is the same. It's even the same size. The only thing that's different is just the size of the cutout for these wheel arches, and of course it's on a bigger chassis. Now, when I said it's sort of American and it's also sort of Australian, because this is actually an Australian-built right-hand drive Ford F600 truck, which is what we need in this country. Yes, you can drive a left-hand drive. I don't want to drive a left-hand drive car if I don't have to. Right-hand drive is the way to go, and that's what this is. So let me take you around a little bit now and show you what we've got. All right, let's show you this beastly V8 it has under the bonnet. So if I lift this up, all right, I precariously perched this bonnet up, but underneath here it has the original Y-block engine. I am not sure on the exact capacity. I imagine it's around 5 litres, something like that. It would be in an old measurement. I know nothing about these things. Surprisingly, if this doesn't slam on my arm, it still has oil in it and it doesn't look horrendous. And the truck is essentially complete. It does have quite a bit of rust and, well, patina, but like cab corners are completely gone. Inside is not a lot better. As you can see, it is a factory right-hand drive vehicle, which again is what I'm looking for. It has the bench seat, which is completely collapsed, and I did sit on this at one stage and got stung on the butt by a wasp. So I'm going to avoid that right at this moment. It does have holes all through the roof. So yeah, that is something I'm going to have to redo, and I'm going to have to make from scratch because you can't get a new roof for this particular truck. As for the tray, you can see it is toast, but it does have this chassis sitting on it, and this chassis is actually it's actually an original 54 F100 chassis that has been converted with an old Holden front end on it. The guy I got this off of was going to make an F100 rat rod and just never got around to it. So it came with the chassis and obviously the complete truck, which I no longer need. It also came with a complete tray that's actually still in half decent condition. This again has been sitting around in the corner for a while now, but yeah, it's actually got a complete F100 tray in original patina condition, including with spare wheel mount and the notch cut out of the wheel arch to handle the spare wheel. All right, so a lot of you are probably thinking, why have I got this absolute pile of junk? And it's because I am going to make it into a very, very cool, comfortable car carrier. And I am hoping that this build could actually be done in less than 12 months. And that might seem like a giant task after what you've just seen, but I think it is possible. And this might be a home build by Jeff 12 months, which means, yeah, wasn't the Alpha 12 months? No, that was not. Now, obviously, it's no good to me as it sits because it's got an old engine. I'm not going to try and restore what's going on here with that rotted wooden tray. The whole thing is just not what I'm looking for. I considered a bunch of different options. I looked at originally trying to keep this to be driven on a car license. Now, in Australia, we have multiple levels of license depending on what you're driving. Like in America, after just being there you're basically almost driving a semi-trailer with some of those massive dualies with the big fifth wheel and everything on the back. They're giant on what I imagine is just a regular car license. In here, the maximum you can drive weight-wise, GVM, gross vehicle mass, is 4.5 tonne on a car license. And then we have multiple levels of truck license. Now, I have a heavy rigid truck license, which basically means I can drive any truck that's not articulated. So everything up to a semi. Every rigid fixed truck, as big as it gets here, I can drive that. There is a light rigid, which is under 8 tonne gross vehicle weight. I am planning now to put this onto a light rigid truck license. So so anyone who drives it is going to have a truck license, but only a basic light rigid truck license. And that puts it into a different category as far as getting it legal for the road and things like that, which also means that Mrs. Jeff is going to have to get a truck license. Now, I went through a bunch of different possibilities for the drivetrain. I thought about keeping this chassis and doing an engine swap. The issue is that in Australia we don't have a lot of these old trucks that America has. So you could easily get a 20-year-old F350. It's in pretty good condition, something like that, and swap that into it, and you've got a nice big diesel powertrain. The thing is the diesel engines here are very expensive, hard to come by, or just junk. We've got a lot of light diesel 4 cylinders that aren't very good. Any of the big stuff, the Cummins and things like that, they're very expensive, and it's just not a great option here in Australia. I was searching and I was planning for quite some time to actually get a Falcon XR8 or something like that and put a sort of Coyote V8 in it, or something like that. It just was not going to handle the towing that I needed, and yeah, that's where I thought diesel's good. I briefly considered an Isuzu light truck. The issue with the Isuzu light trucks is that after having a look at them at work, if you don't know, my day job is as a firefighter. We have a little one at work, and they have a solid beam front axle, and you can't really lower the truck at all. Even though I put the cab on, I did all the measurements, and the cab would sit about the same height as it does on this truck. And even on those light trucks, the chassis rails are a similar height, and to lower it with a beam axle, even if you could notch the frame, you're going to hit the engine, so you'd have to lift the engine up as well, and the whole thing became an absolute logistical nightmare to do that. And that is until I met Jay, who has the YouTube channel Low Standards, who builds some crazy drift cars. You can go and check it out. I was having a chat with him, and he opened my eyes to a much better chassis to use that had never crossed my mind. And as crazy as it sounds, this is the chassis he suggested. And after doing a lot more research, I bought a bus. Now, this is a 1995 Toyota Coaster bus. Now, before you think I am completely lost my mind, there are a lot of pros to using a Toyota Coaster bus. One is that this being a Toyota Coaster bus in Australia, our most popular four-wheel drive for decades has been the Toyota Land Cruiser. And that's what is underneath this. This is essentially a manual, 5-speed manual Toyota Land Cruiser engine under here. I can get parts anywhere in Australia. So driveline, it is perfect. And although this doesn't have a turbo on it, Al from the Skid Factory did a really great video on how easy it is to actually turbo one of these engines, as opposed to petrol engines. And I know very little about diesels, but as opposed to petrol engines, which need a whole bunch of computers and extra fueling and all that sort of stuff if you're going to try and turbo a naturally aspirated engine, on this particular engine, you can basically just bolt a turbo onto it, even non-intercooled, and just wind up the fuel screw a little bit, and off you go. Just make sure you monitor temperatures, etc., and you can add 50% power very, very cheaply and easily. So that is something that I can do. Another benefit of a bus is it is much lower, and this actually has A-arm suspension on the front and torsion bars. So it is already much lower because they try and build them low to get passengers on them. So the chassis rails are already much lower. Everything is just so much better to make a really cool hot rod truck build. So as far as the body goes, I can't lift it off. There is no way I can lift it off, so I'm going to have to cut it into bits and remove it. The other benefit of these Toyota coaster buses is that these engines can easily do 1,000,000 kilometres without a problem. This has, on the scheme of things, very low kilometres of just under 300,000, and it drives beautifully, does everything it needs to do as a bus, which it's no longer going to do. So once I get stuck into it, I'm going to start cutting and removing all the bits. Now, why I'm saying that this whole truck project should be a much faster one is because I am not going to have to change a whole lot of things. Basically, I am going to keep all of the wiring from the bus. I'm going to keep all the running gear from the bus. I am going to just cut everything else off and then rewire this wiring to the truck's headlights and tail lights and things like that, and just keep everything basically as it is. So this will be running and driving the whole time of the project, just except for maybe the short period of time where I'm actually moving the steering wheel and the pedals and things like that. But on the scheme of things, compared to the Alpha, this is quite simple, straightforward sort of job. So that is my crazy truck project. Now, I saw this picture many years ago of a truck that was at SEMA, and I thought that would be fantastic, something like that to cart my vehicles around. But I was looking at the tray going, how do you get the cars up and down from the tray easily? Because that's one of the big issues with my car trailer is the with a low car, as many of you who've ever tried to cart any lowered vehicles, is getting up onto a trailer, up onto the back of a truck is even worse. The approach angle and the breakover angle is just an absolute killer. And that is where I have an ingenious plan to essentially get the tray all the way off the back of the truck, lower down, almost flat on the ground, so you can drive the car on flat and then the tray will go back on again. I have a plan for that, which doesn't actually involve any hydraulics. So stick around for that. And that is probably going to be the most complicated part of the whole transformation. I think getting the cab onto the bus is not going to be that big of a problem. Fixing the rust, that is something I've tackled before. There are rust patch panels that are available for this truck because obviously it's a very popular vehicle. So it's going to be a bit of a mismatch. It's going to be a bit American, a bit Australian, a bit Japanese. But in the end, I think I'm going to have a very cool hot rod car hauler that will have air conditioning and cruise control and all the things that make it nice and comfortable, so that I can get in here, take the truck from here near Sydney in Australia, take our Ferrari for a 13 or 14 hour drive to Adelaide to do the Adelaide Rally or something like that, and then bring it back even if it breaks. So hopefully you guys will enjoy me for that. Hopefully I'm not going to lose too many of you. I know some of you are going to be not interested at all because our Ferrari was cool with a Ferrari engine and all that sort of stuff, but this hopefully should be a much quicker build. I have plans for paint and body and things like that that hopefully won't make it drag out too long. So fingers crossed you're as excited about this project as I am, and you will join me in the new year when I get stuck into my ultimate home-built truck hauler build. So still need to come up with a name for it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Have I lost you completely? Are you not interested? Some of you won't be, that's fair, but hopefully a lot of you will enjoy it and join me on the ride. So I'm looking forward to this. And as I said, there is another resto mod build that's going to be coming in the not too distant future as well. So all right guys, we'll catch you on the next one. See you guys.